Okay, good. I'm live on. I'm sorry about all that. If it's not working on Facebook this time, then Facebook just gonna take that L, and I will share it to Facebook later on because I want to get this party started. You did?
Trying to reconnect.
Yeah. Yep. Well, we ain't gonna worry about it.
Lord have mercy.
All right, y'all. Um, Wait a minute. All right, I'll get out of here. Get to what I need to be in. And all right. Hopefully everything is going the way it's supposed to, because it ain't telling me. I'm gonna check one more time because it is be acting wild. I have no idea if I'm live. Okay, thank you. All right, let's get this party started. Okay, so I appreciate your patience. You see me as I was trying to work this thing out. So not gonna do a lot of talking this week. You know what I mean? You want to hear me do a ton of talking? I'll see you on Tuesdays, because Tuesdays, that's when I do my talking. But I do want to share the mantra I've been under for today. And today's mantra has been, just for today, I will do my work honestly. Yeah, so today I just been doing my work honestly, really. I don't know. Okay, so let me go on, start getting this set up. I didn't cut off all these other lights, so you got to take a little walk with me. I tried to turn them on so they give a little more. Okay, hold on. All right, I got a lot of lights in here, so you have to forgive me. I got my comfortable spot set up though, and I got my blanket. You know what I mean? We got our ram blanket. Hold on. Let me see what's going on. Okay. When I change this color, it's gonna help see me a little bit. And I know I disappeared for a second, but hey, ba. See, I show back up. It's weird how that works, right? Just that white light ain't wasn't hitting too good. But here we go. I swear I hate to do this, but I want to make sure this is going on before I start all this reading. Yeah, you see I got green on me in front. That's how I feel. So y'all get a little bit of green, a little bit of blue, a little bit of everything. You know what I'm saying? Oh no, yeah, I got my living room lights on pink. So I think where we at? Chapter 8. And I think what just happened? Janie and her husband. I forget that guy's name all the time, because I still remember him from the beginning. I always think of him as some dude that was dirty macking. That's funny. That's how you gonna holler at that married woman while her husband went to go buy a mule, which is a crazy concept, period. You know what I mean? And hell, I don't even know how you think a person like that is marriable at some point. You know what I mean? But anyway, after that night, Jody moved his things and slept in the room downstairs. He didn't really hate Janie, but he wanted her to think so. He had crawled off to lick his wounds. They didn't talk too much around the store either. Anybody that didn't know would have thought things had blown over. It looked so quiet and peaceful around, but the stillness was the sleep of swords. So new thoughts had to be thought, and new words had to be said. She didn't want to live like that. Why must Joe be so mad with her for making him look so small when he did it to her all the time? Had been doing it for years. Well, If she must eat out of a long handle spoon, she must. Jody might get over his mad spell anytime and at any time at all and begin to act like somebody towards her. Then, too, she noticed how baggy Joe was getting all over, like bags hanging from ironing boards. A little sack hung from the corners of his eyes and rested on his cheekbones. A loose-filled bag of feathers hung from his ears and rested on his neck beneath his chin. A sack of flabby something hung from his loins and rested on his thighs when he sat down. But even these things were running down like candle grease as time moved on. He made new alliances too. People he never bothered with one way or another now seemed to have his ear. He had always been scornful of root doctors and all their kind, but now she saw a faker from over around Alamatonic Springs hanging around the place almost daily, always talking in low tones when she came near, or hushed altogether. She didn't know that he was driven by desperate hope to appear the old-time body in her sight. She was sorry about the root doctor because she feared that Joe was depending on the scoundrel to make him well when what he needed was a doctor, and a good one. She was worried about his not eating his meals till she found out excuse me, he was having old lady Davis to cook for him. She knew that was much better. She knew she was a much better cook than the old woman and cleaner about the kitchen. So she bought a beef bone and made him some soup. "No, thank you," he told her shortly. "I'm having a hard enough time to try to get well as it is." She was stunned at first and hurt afterwards. So she went straight to her bosom friend, Phoebe Watson, and told her all about it. "I'd rather be dead than for Jody to think I'd hurt him," she sobbed to Phoebe. "It ain't always been too pleasant, 'cause you know how Joe worshipped the works of his own hands, but God in heavens know I wouldn't do anything to hurt nobody. It's too underhanded and mean." That's debatable, Janie. That's debatable. Janie, I thought maybe the thing would die down and you never would know nothing about it, but it's been singing around here every day since the big fuss in the store that Joe was fixed and you was the one that did it. Phoebe, for the longest time I was feeling that something set still bait, but this is Phoebe. What can I do? You can't do nothing but make out you don't know it. It's too late for y'all to be splitting up and getting a divorce. Just going back home, sit down on your raw hibiscus and say nothing. Don't nobody believe it no how. To think I've been with Jody 20 years and I just now got to bear the name of poisoning him. It's this man is seriously worried about him poisoning her that he went and got a root doctor. That's bananas. That's bananas. Hey, fear is an interesting emotion. It's about to kill me, Phoebe. Sorrow dogged by sorrow in my heart. That's a lie, that trashy nigga that calls himself a two-headed doctor brought to him in orders to get in with Jody. He seen he was sick. Everybody been knowing that for the longest. And then I reckon he heard y'all was kind of at variance. So that was his chance. Last summer, that multiplied cockroach was round here trying to sell gophers. I know that's right. Phoebe, I don't believe Jody believe that lie. He ain't never took no stock in the mess. He just make out he believing it to hurt me. I'm the stone dead from standing still and trying to smile. She cried often in the weeks that followed. Joe got too weak to look after things and took to his bed, but he relentlessly refused to admit her in his sick room. People came and went in the house. This one and that one came into her house with covered plates and broth, other sick room dishes without taking the least notice of her as Joe's wife. People who never had known what it was to enter the gate of the mayor's yard unless it was to do some menial job, now paraded in and out as his confidants. They came to the store ostentatiously, looked over whatever she was doing, and went back to report to him at the house. Said things like, Mr. Starks needs somebody to sort of look out for him till he get on his feet again and look for himself. But Jody was never to get on his feet again. Janie had Sam Watson to bring her the news from the sick room, and when he told her how things was, she had him bring a doctor from Orlando without giving Joe a chance to refuse and without saying she sent for him. Just a matter of time, the doctor told her. When a man's kidneys stop working altogether, there's no way for him to live. He needed medical attention 2 years ago. Too late now. So Janie began to think of death. Death. That strange being with huge square toes who lived way in the west. The great one who lived in a straight house like a platform without sides to it and without a roof. What need has death for a cover? And what winds can blow against him? He stands in the high house that overlooks the world, stands watchful and motionless all day with his sword drawn back, waiting for a messenger to bid him to come. Been standing there before there was a where or a when or a then. She was liable to find a feather from his huge wings lying in her yard any day now. She was sad and afraid too. Poor Jody. He ought not have to wrestle in them by himself. She sent Sam in to suggest a visit, but Jody said no. These medical doctors was all right with the godly sick, and they didn't know a thing about the case like his. He'd be all right just as soon as the two-headed man found... Excuse me, he'd be all right. I hate to even laugh at this, but I'm sorry. He'd be all right just as soon as a two-headed man found what had been bared against him. He wasn't going to die at all. That was what he thought. But Sam told her different, so she knew. And then if he hadn't, the next morning she was bound to know, for people began to gather in the big yard under the palm and the chinaberry trees. People who would not have dared to foot the place before crept in and did not come to the house, just squatted under the trees and waited. Rumor that wingless bird had shadowed over the town. She got up that morning with the firm determination to go up in there and have a talk with Jody. But she sat a long time with the walls creeping in on her, 4 walls squeezing her breath out. Fear lest he departed while she sat trembling upstairs nerved her. And she was inside the room before she caught her breath. She didn't make the cheerful, casual start that she had thought out. Something stood like an oxen's foot on her tongue, and then too, Jody, no, Joe, gave her a furious look. A look with all the unthinkable coldness of outer space. She must talk to a man who was 10 immensities away. He was lying on his side facing the door like he was expecting somebody or something. A sort of changing look was on his face, weak looking, but sharp pointed about the eyes. Through the thin counterpane, she could see what was left of his belly huddled before him in the bed like some helpless thing seeking shelter. This was the half-washed bedclothes hurt her pride for Jody. He had always been so clean. What you doing in here for, Janie? Come to see about you and how you was making out. He gave a deep growling sound like a hog dying down in the swamp and trying to drive off disturbance. I come in here to get... Okay, hold on, excuse me. I come in here to get set your, but look at like your tank doing me no good. Go on out, okay? I come in here, though, some of this reading is amazing, so I had to read this. I come in here to get shit. You, to get set of you, but look like tank doing me no good. Go on out. I needs to rest. Excuse me. That makes sense to you. Help a brother out. Nah, Jody, I come in here to talk with you, and I'm going to do it too. It's for both of our sakes. I'm talking. He gave her another ground grumble and eased over on his back. Jody, maybe I ain't been such a good wife to you, but Jody, that's 'cause you ain't got the right feeling for nobody. You ought to have some sympathy about yourself. You ain't no hog, but Jody, I meant to be awful nice. Much as I done for you, holding me up to scorn, no sympathy. Nah, Jody, it wasn't because I didn't have no sympathy. I had a lavish of that. I just didn't ever get no chance to use none of it. You wouldn't let me. That's right. Blame everything on me. I wouldn't let you show no feelings. When Janie, that's all I ever wanted or desired. Now you come blaming me. Tain't that, Jody? I ain't here to blame nobody. I'm just here trying to make you know what kind of person I is before it's too late. Too late? He whispered. His eyes buckled in a vacant mouth terror, and she saw the off surprise in his face and answered it. Yeah, Jody. Don't care what that multiplied cockroach done told you. Get your money, you got to die. And you can't live. A deep sob came out of Jody's weak frame. It was like beating a bass drum in a hen house. Then it rose high, like pulling in a trombone. Janie, don't tell me I got to die. I ain't used to thinking about it. Tain't really no need of you dying, Jody, if you had of a doctor. But it don't do no good bringing that nut up now. That was just what I wants to say, Jody. You wouldn't listen. You done lived with me 20 years, and you don't know me at all. And you could have, but you was so busy worshiping the works of your hands and cuffing folks around their minds till you didn't see a whole heap of things you could have. I know that's right. Putting everybody and everything before yourself will have you missing a lot of things. That's an interesting concept. Shoot, excuse me. Leave here, Janie. Don't come here. I know you wasn't gonna listen to me. You changes everything, but nothing don't change you. Not even death. But I ain't going out of here. I ain't got a hush. Now you gonna listen to me one time before you die. Have your way all your life. Trample and mash down and then die rather than to let yourself hear about it. I know that's right. She said it's better rather die than to hear what she had to say. That's a crazy concept. Oh man, wait a minute. I closed out for a second. Come on back. Listen, Jody, you ain't the Jody I ran off down the road with. You's what's left after he died. I run off to keep house with you in a wonderful way. But you wasn't satisfied with me the way I was. Nah, my own mind had to be squeezed and crowded out to make room for yours and me. I know that's right. She said you wouldn't even allow her to have her own brain. You made her brain have to be yours. She had to be a mini version of you, which is interesting perspective. Shut up. I wish thunder and lightning would kill you. I know it. And now you got to die to find out that you got to pacify somebody besides yourself if you want any love and sympathy in this world. You ain't tried to pacify nobody but yourself. Too busy listening to your own big voice. All this tearing down talk, Jody whispered with sweat globbles forming all over his face and arms. Get out of here. All this bowing down, all this obedience under your voice. That ain't what I rushed off down the road to find about you. A sound of strife in Jody's voice, but his eyes stared unwillingly into the corner of the room, so Janie knew the futile fight was not with her. An icy sword of the square-toed one had cut off his breath and left his hands in a pose of agonizing protest. Janie gave them the piece on his breast. Then she studied his dead face for a long time. Man, this sitting in the ruling chair has been hard on Jolie, she muttered out loud. She was full of pity for the first time in years. Jody had been hard on her and others, but life had mishandled him too. Poor Joe. Maybe if she had known some other way to try, she might have made his face different. But what other way could be? She had no idea. She thought back and forth what had happened in the making of a voice out of a man. Then thought about herself. Years ago, she had told the girl self to wait for her in the looking glass. It had been a long time since she had remembered. Perhaps she'd better look. She went over to the dresser and looked hard at her skin and features. The young girl was gone, but a handsome woman had taken her place. She tore off the handkerchief from her head and let down her plentiful hair. The weight, the length, the glory was there. She took careful stock of herself, then combed her hair and tied it back up again. Then she starched and ironed her face, forming it into just what people wanted to see, and opened up the window and cried, "Come here, people. Jody is dead. My husband is gone from me." And let me tell you something, though. Man, that has to be wild that your last conversation, man, is an argument with your wife, and that's how you die. That's bananas. All right, so we're on chapter 9. Why? I don't know why chapter 7 was so long. Chapter 7 was ridiculous. That thing was like an hour itself. But chapter 8 wasn't so bad, so we'll do chapter 9 too. Joe's funeral was the finest thing Orange County had ever seen with Negro eyes. The motor hearse, the Cadillac and Buick carriages. Dr. Henderson was there in his Lincoln, the hosts from far and wide. Then again, the gold and red and purple, the gloat and glamour of the secret orders, each with its insinuations of power and glory undreamed of by the uninitiated. People on farm horses and mules. Babies riding astride of brothers and sisters' backs. The Elks band raked at the church door and playing Safe in the Arms of Jesus with such a dominant drum rhythm that it could be stepped off smartly by the long line as it filed inside. The little emperor of the crossroads was leaving Orange County as he had come, with the outstretched hand of power. I know that's right. Janie starched an eye on her face. That's an interesting way. Like, it's really just hitting to me the more she says starch an eye on her face. That's like putting on a poker face. That's like recalibrating yourself. That's like putting on your game face. They just call it starch an eye, and that's interesting. Janie starched an eye on her face and came to sit in the funeral behind her veil. It was like a wall of stone and steel. The funeral was going on. Where you going? God dog. Excuse me. The funeral was going on outside. All things concerning death and burial were said and done, finished, in, nevermore, darkness, deep hole, dissolution, eternity, weeping and wailing outside. Inside, the expensive black folds were resurrection and life. She did not reach outside for anything, nor did the things of death reach inside to disturb her calm. She sent her face to Joe's funeral, and herself went rollicking with the springtime across the world. After a while, the people finished their celebration, and Janie went on home. Before she slept that night, she burnt up every one of her head rags. Oh, God, I know she hated them things and went about the house the next morning with her hair in one thick braid swinging well below her waist. Dang. That was the only change people saw in her. She kept the store the same way, except of evenings she sat on the porch and listened and sent Hezekiah in to wait on the late custom. She saw no reason to rush at changing things around. She would have the rest of her life to do as she pleased. Most of the day she was at the store, but at night she was there in the big house, and sometime it creaked and cried all night under the weight of lonesomeness. I know that's right. Then she'd lie awake in the bed asking lonesomeness some questions. She asked if she wanted to leave and go back where she had come from and try to find her mother, maybe tend to her grandmother's grave, sort of look over the old stomping grounds. Generally, digging around inside herself like that, she found that she had no interest in that seldom seen mother at all. She hated her grandmother. She hated her grandmother. Well, her grandmother did slap the taste out of her mouth before they was her name. She hated her grandmother and had no interest in that. No, excuse me. She hated her grandmother and had hidden it from herself all these years under the cloak of pity. She had been getting ready for her great journey to the horizons in search of people. It was important to all the world that she should find them and they find her. But she had been whipped like a cur dog and run off down back the road after things. It was all according to the way you see things. Some people could look at, some people could look at the mud puddle and see an ocean with ships, but Nanny belonged to that other kind that loved to deal in scraps. Here, Nanny had taken the biggest thing God ever made, the horizon, for no matter how far a person can go, the horizon is still way beyond you, and pinch it into such a little bit of a thing that she could tie it about her granddaughter's neck tight enough to choke her. I know that's right. She hated the old woman who had twisted her so in the name of love. Most humans didn't love one another, no how. And this mislove was so strong that even common blood couldn't overcome it at all. I think our ideas of love is why we think mislove. Because what I've learned is love is all of those things. We like to say what love isn't, and then we all have experiences in those things that we say love isn't. And that lets you know maybe love is all of those things. It's good and bad. So love is an interesting. It's a wild animal and ain't no taming it. All right. She had found a jewel down inside of herself, and she had wanted to walk where people could see her and to gleam it around. But she had been set in the marketplace to sell, been set for steel bait. When God had made the man, he made him out of stuff that sung all the time and glittered all over. Then after that, some angels got jealous and chopped him into a million pieces, but still he glittered and hummed. So they beat him down to nothing but sparks. But each little spark had a shine and a song. So they covered each one with mud, and the lonesomeness and the sparks make them hunt for one another. But the mud is deaf and dumb, like all other tumbling mud balls. Janie had tried to show her shine. Yeah, that's tough. Janie found out very soon that her widowhood and property was a great challenge in South Florida. Before Jody had been dead a month, she noticed how often men had never been intimates of Joe drove considerable distances to ask after her welfare and offer their services as an advisor. Hey, at least this time they waited for her husband to die. See, last time they was like, hey, he went to get a mule. Joe, this my lady. And it's ironic too, because even in today's time, statistically, they say women who have been married have a higher chance to get married again versus women who had never been married. So a woman by herself is a pitiful thing, she was told over and over again. They needs aids and assistance. God never meant them to stand by themselves. You ain't been used to knocking around and doing for yourself, Miss Starks. You've been well taken care of. You needs a man. I know that's right. Yeah, dog. That's how you gonna convince them, baby. I need to change my game. I need to start telling them you need me. That's a wild concept. Janie laughed at all these well wishes because she knew that they knew plenty of women alone, that she was not the first one they had ever seen, but most of the others were poor. Besides, so now they try harder because she knows she got bread. Besides, she liked being lonesome for a change. This freedom feeling was fine. These men didn't represent the thing that she wanted to know about. She had already experienced them through Logan and Joe, valid, but she dipped on Logan. That was the wild thing. She felt like slapping some of them for sitting around grinning at her like a pack of Cheshire cats trying to make out they looked like love. Ike Green sat on her case seriously one evening on the store porch when he was lucky enough to catch her alone. You wants to be careful about who you marries, Miss Stark. These strange men running here to take advantage of your condition. Mary? Janie almost screamed. Joe ain't had time to get cold yet. I ain't even given married in the first thought, but you will. You's too young a woman to stay single, and you's too pretty for the men to leave you alone. You's bound to marry. I hope not. I mean, at this present time, it don't come before me. Joe ain't been dead 2 months, ain't got settled down in his grave. That's what you say now, but 2 months more, you'll sing another tune. Then you want to be careful. Women folks is easy taken advantage of. You know what? You know what to let alone. You know what to let none of these stray niggas that's sitting around here get the inside track on you. They just lack a pack of hogs when they see a full trough. What you need is a man that you done lived around. Okay, this way he's like, and know all about the sort of manager your things for you and generally do around. Janie jumped on her feet. Lord, Ike Green, use the case. This subject you bringing up ain't fit to be talked about at all. Let me go inside and help Hezekiah weigh up that barrel of sugar that come in. She rushed on inside the store and whispered to Hezekiah, I'm going to the house. Let me know when that old Peter Bed, God dog, she called him Peter Bed gone, and I'll be right back. 6 months of wearing black passed, and not one suit had ever gained the house porch. Janie talked and laughed in the store at times, but never seemed to want to go further. She was happy except for the store. She knew by her head that she was the absolute owner, but it always seemed to her that she was still clerking for Joe, and that soon he would come in and find something wrong that she had done. She almost apologized to the tenant the first time she collected rents. Felt like a usurper. Usurper. Excuse me. Woo. But she had that feeling by sending Hezekiah, who was the best imitation of Joe that his 17 years could make. He had even taken to smoking cigars since Joe's death and tried to bite him tight in one side of his mouth like Joe. Every chance he got, he was rearing back in Joe's swivel chair, trying to thrust out his lean belly into a pouch. She'd laugh quietly at his no-harm posing and pretend she didn't see it. One day she came in the back door of the store. She heard him bawling at Trip Crawford. No, indeed, we can't do nothing of the kind. Ah, God, you ain't paid for them last rations you done ate up. Ah, God, you won't get no more out of this store than you got money to pay for. Oh God, this ain't Gimme Florida. That man say this ain't Gimme Florida. This Eatonville. Another time she overheard him using Joe Favor's expression for pointing out differences between himself and the careless living mouth of town. I'm an educated man. I keep my arrangements in my hands. She laughed outright at that. His acting didn't hurt nobody, and she wouldn't know what to do without him. He sent that, and he came to treat her like a baby sister, as if to say, "You poor little thing. Give it to Big Brother. He'll fix it for you." His sense of ownership made him honest too, except for an occasional jawbreaker or a pack of sin. The sin was to on to the other boys and the pullet-sized girls that he had liquor breath to cover. This business of managing the store and the women's store owners was trying on a man's nerves. He needed a drink of liquor now and then to keep up. When Janie emerged into her morning white, she had a host of admirers in and out of town. Everything open and frank. Men of property too among the crowd, but nobody seemed to get any further than the store. She was always too busy to take them to the house to entertain. They were all so respectful and stiff with her that she might have been the Empress of Japan. They felt that it was not fitting to mention desire to the widow of Joe Starks. You spoke of honor and respect, and all that they said and did was refracted by her inattention and shot off towards the rim bones of nothing. She and Phoebe Watson visited back and forth and once in a while sat around the lakes and fished. She was just basking in freedom for the most part, without the need for thought. A Sanford undertaker was pressing his case. Okay, excuse me. This thing, be doing his own thing a lot. A Sanford undertaker was pressing his case through Phoebe, and Janie was listening pleasantly but undisturbed. It might be nice to marry him at that. No hurry. Such things take time to think about. Or rather, she pretended to Phoebe that was what she was doing. "Tain't that a worries over Joe's death, Phoebe? I just loves this freedom." "Shh. Don't let nobody hear you say that, Janie. Folks will say you ain't sorry he's gone. Let them say what they wants to, Phoebe. To my thinking, mourning ought to last no longer than grief." All right, well, 9 wasn't bad either, so we're going to roll on to 10. Chapter 10. All right. One day, Hezekiah asked off from work to go with the ball team. Janie told him not to hurry back. She should close up the store herself this once. He cautioned her about the catches on the windows and the doors and swaggered off the Winter Park. Business was dull all day because the numbers of people had gone to the game. She had decided to close early because it was hardly worth the trouble of keeping open on an afternoon like this. She had set 6 o'clock as her limit. At 5:30, a tall man came into the place. Janie was leaning on the counter, making aimless pencil marks on the piece of wrapping paper. She knew she didn't know this name, but he looked familiar. "Good evening, Miss Starks," he said with a sly grin, as if they had joked together. She was in favor of the story that was making him laugh before she even heard it. "Good evening," she answered pleasantly. "You got all the advantages because I don't know your name. People would know me like they would you. People wouldn't know me like they would you. I guess standing in the store do make you a person to get to know in the vicinity. Look like I seen you somewhere. Oh, I don't live no farther than Orlando. I'm easy to see on Church Street and most day or night. You got any smoking tobacco?" She opened up the glass case. "What kind?" "Camels." She handed over the cigarettes and took the money. He broke the pack and thrust one between his full purple lips. "You got a piece of fire over there, lady?" They both laughed and she handed him 2 kitchen mattresses out of a box for that purpose. It was time for him to go, but he didn't. He leaned on the counter with one elbow, cold cocked her a look. Why you ain't at the ball game too? Everybody else is there. Well, I see somebody else that ain't there besides me that ain't there. I just sold some cigarettes. They laughed again. That's because I'm dumb. I got the things all mixed up. I thought the game was going to be at Hartford, so I got a ride to where this road turns off from Dixie High and walked over there to find out the game was in Winter Park. That was funny to both of them too. So what you gonna do now? All the cars in Eatonville is gone. How about playing you some checkers? You looks hard to beat. I is. Cause I can't play a lick. I know that's right. She was like, I am hard to beat because I suck. You don't cherish the game then? Yes, I do. And then again, I don't know whether I do or not because nobody ever showed me how. This is the last day for that excuse. You got a boy around here? Yes, indeed. The men folks treasure the games around here. I just ain't never learned how. He set up the board and began to show her, and she found herself glowing inside. Somebody wanted her to play. Somebody thought it natural for her to play. This was even nice. She looked him over and got little thrills from every one of his good points. Those full, lazy eyes with the lashes curling sharply away like drawn scimitars. The lean, over-paddled shoulders and narrow waist, even nice. He was jumping her king. She screamed in protest against losing the king she had such a hard time acquiring. Before she knew it, she had grabbed his hand to stop him. He struggled gallantly to free himself, but that is, he struggled, but not hard enough to wrench a lady's finger. I got the right to take it. You left and right in my way. Yeah, but I was looking off when you went and stuck your man right next to mine. No fair. You ain't supposed to look off, Miss Starks. It's the biggest part of the game to watch out. Leave my hand go. No, sir, not my king. You can take another one, but not that one. They scrambled and upset the board and laughed at that. Anyhow, it's time for a Coca-Cola, he said. I'll come teach you some more another time. It's all right to come teach me, but don't come to cheat me. You can't beat a woman. They just won't stand for it. But I'll come teach you again. You got to be a good player too after a while. You reckon so? Jody used to tell me I never would learn. It was too heavy for my brains. Folks is playing with the sense. Folks is playing it with sense and folks is playing it without. But you got good meat on your head. You'll learn. Have a cool drink on me. All right, thank you. Got plenty cold ones today. Nobody ain't been here to buy one. All gone off to the game. You ought to be at the next game. Tain't no use in you staying here that everybody else gone. You don't buy from yourself, do you? You crazy thing. Of course I don't. But I'm worried about a little. How come? Afraid you ain't gonna pay half these drinks? Oh no. How you gonna get back home? Wait around here for a car. If none don't come, I got good shoe leather. Tank but 7 miles, no how. I know that's right. I could walk that in no time, easy. He said that's right. If it was me, I'd wait on the train. 7 miles is kind of a long walk. 7. They got to spell like SEB. Be like, boy, 7 miles. It's kind of a long walk. It would be for you because you ain't used to it. But I haven't seen women walk further than that. You could too if you had to do it. Maybe so. But I'll ride the train as long as they got railroad fare. I don't need no pocket full of money to ride the train like a woman. When I take a notion to ride anyhow, money or no money. Now, ain't you something, Mr. You never did tell me what your name was. I sure didn't. Was expecting for her to be needed. The name my mama gave me is Virgil Woods, but they call me Tea Cake for short. All right. Now, this is when I start getting excited. Tea Cake was wild, but this is where she started. This is, yeah, it's the relationship that was interesting to me, her and Tea Cake. Tea Cake, so you sweet as all that? She laughed and he gave her a little cut-eye look to get her meaning. I may be guilty, but you better try me and see. She did something halfway between a laugh and a frown, and he set his hat on straight. Believe I done cut a hog, so I guess I better catch air. He made an elaborate act of tipping out the door stealthily, then looked back at her with an irresistible grin on his face. Janie bust out laughing in spite of herself. You crazy thing. He turned and threw his hat at her feet. If she don't throw it at me, I'll take a chance on coming back, he announced, making gestures to indicate he was hidden behind a post. She picked it up, the hat, and threw it after him with a laugh. Even if she had a brick, she couldn't hurt you with it, he said to an invisible companion. The lady can't throw. He gestured to his companion, stepped out from behind the imaginary lamppost, set his coat and his hat, and strolled back to where Janie was as if he had just come in the store. Evening, Miss Starks. Could you let me have a pound of knuckle pudding till Sunday? It's the knuckle pudding. What is knuckle pudding? I don't know. I sure to pay you then. You needs 10 pounds, Mr. Tea Cake. I'll let you have it all. I got, and you needn't help bother paying it back. They joked, because you know what knuckle. They joked and went on to the people who began to come in. Then he took a seat and made talk and laughter with the rest until closing time. When everyone else had left, he said, I reckon I done overlaid my leaving time, but I figured you needed somebody to help you shut the place down. Since nobody else ain't around here, maybe I can get the job. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Tea Cake. It's kind of straining for me. Who ever heard of a tea cake being called Mr.? If you want to be real high tone and call me Mr. Woods, that's the way you feel about it. If you wants to be a little friendly and call me Tea Cake, that would be real nice. He was closing and bolting windows all the time he talked. All right then, thank you, Tea Cake. How's that? Just like a little girl with an Easter dress on. Even nice. He locked the door and shook it to be sure and handed her a key. Come on now, I see you inside the door and get on down to Dixie. Janie was halfway down the palm line walk before she, a beating with the fist, had thought for her safety. Maybe this strange man was up to something, but it was no place to show her fear there in the darkness between the house and the store. He had a hold of her arm too. Then in a moment, it was gone. Tea Cake wasn't strange. Seemed as if she had known him all her life. Look how she had been able to talk with him right off. He tipped his hat at the door and was off with the briefest good night. So she sat on the porch and watched the moon rise. Soon it was amber, fluid, was drenching the earth and quenching the thirst of today. Let's see. We generally do about 3 chapters. Chapter 11 looks kind of long, so I think I'll start with 11 next time. I think this I don't know. Let me see. What you think? Doo-doo-doo. I don't even know if I have a chat box. Yeah, I'll wrap it up tonight. I really need to do for lack of better words, a consultation call. I have a friend that wants me to do some Reiki services on his family, and I haven't been able to get in contact with him. And since we've been having book club, he actually inboxed me to let me know that he was available. So him and I could chop it up. So I'm going to do that. And I appreciate you spending time. I appreciate your patience. And I'll see you again next week. Yeah, I try not to be. I was a little late today and we had some other issues going on, but I try not to be late, and hopefully we won't have those same issues. But this is Streamlabs. So if you're thinking about it, this is Streamlabs. So again, the mantra for today has been, just for today, I will do my work honestly. So you can use that for you tomorrow, and I'll see you Tuesday for live energy readings, or I'll see you next Thursday for book club. Man, please don't tell me. I like pulling in a trombone. Janie, don't tell me I got to die. I ain't used to thinking about it. I appreciate you spending time. I appreciate your patience. And I'll see you again next week. Yeah.